Hello, happy Sunday, Brave to Be Me members, or bravers as I like to call you. How are you doing? Today, what we're going to be talking about is the difference between the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the unconscious mind. The reason I threw this in here is because Catherine, who's here with us now, asked me, what is the difference? So I said, well, let me do a live and share that with other people who might be wondering too. Okay. The conscious mind is anything that is within your awareness. So if you were to imagine, like right now, you are sitting and you are focusing your attention on listening to me. So I am now within your conscious awareness, right? Are there any background noises around you? Like for me, I can hear my laptop humming on the desk. I can hear, yeah, it is cool, the Zoom wedding. I can hear birds. There were birds outside. I can hear probably Garth in the other room if I listened for it. So conscious awareness is like what you're putting your attention on, so my voice. Those background noises are your subconscious mind. So your subconscious is the things that you're not focused on, but you can recall them if I asked you to. So if I said what's going on in the background, your conscious mind is still looking at me, but your subconscious mind can go, oh, there's birds. Oh yeah, my partner's in the other room. My phone just beeped. Whatever it is. So it's like your, what do they call it? I can't remember the word. Attention muscle is always working. So you're always listening out and noticing everything that's going on around you, but it might not be like in your focus. Does that make sense as a distinction? So the thing that you are looking at right now is within your conscious awareness. The things on the periphery, you're still taking in, but you're not focused on them. And they live in your subconscious mind. So that subconscious is just below the surface of your awareness. So you can put your attention on it and you can quite easily recall it. There could be other things like things that you would use on a daily basis, your habits, phone number, like, if you remember your own phone number, like it's right there, it's easy to call on, you can bring that up. If I had to ask you like short-term memory, what did you do yesterday, you'd be able to recall that information and share it with me. So the things that live in the subconscious are kind of perfect sense. Oh great. So things that live in the subconscious, you can bring them to the forefront of your focus relatively easy. Okay. The interesting bit for me is the unconscious mind. So the unconscious mind is like the deep, deep, deep down stuff. And those are things that you're not easily able to recall and to bring up to the surface into your awareness. So things like every experience you've ever had in your entire life, particularly the ones in childhood or like when you were a baby, sometimes even pre-birth, all that stuff lives in your unconscious mind. So you don't easily remember it, but you could access it if you had if you had the help of certain processes or other people that facilitate these things, like hypnotherapy, for example. In hypnotherapy, you can access the unconscious mind, right? Think about when you have dreams. So Freud believed that when you had dreams, that was your unconscious mind speaking to you. So, it's all the fears and the emotions and the memories and all of that that's living down there kind of comes up to the surface in your dreams. But we don't always remember our dreams. So it's interesting, really interesting. Why I think this is relevant is that the more you practice increasing your awareness, so in other words, the more you choose what you are consciously focusing on, the easier it gets to do that. So as you're going through life and you're kind of day to day doing your thing, you're either doing it because you're consciously choosing to do it, it's in your awareness, or your unconscious is running the show and your subconscious, depending on what it is. But, it's out of your awareness and it's running the show. So that means you're kind of working on autopilot. It's like default behavior. So you're not consciously making the choice to do that, okay? So whenever you do things that are like self-sabotaging, you're not choosing consciously to do that. You're just doing it. because your unconscious goes, oh, whoa, 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 I remember this situation. This happened, when I was 8 years old and blah, 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 blah. I know the feelings that go with this. And so the unconscious kind of takes control and drives your behavior. Question: is there any connection with ancestral stuff and the unconscious? I believe so. In fact, there was someone, I forget who said that the unconscious is made up of two different parts: the personal unconscious and the collective unconscious. So the personal unconscious would be your specific life experiences and memories and trauma and that kind of thing that would live there. The collective unconscious would be the things that kind of get passed down to you, exactly like you said, ancestral stuff. So they say that I can't remember exactly. I'm so bad at explaining things in like real scientific terms. I'm more just like an idea, and I'm happy to go with it from there. But I know with DNA, they've said that there's like an imprint from ancestors that gets passed down. So like, for example, I'm Jewish by birth. And so my ancestors, had to deal with the Holocaust. So some of the trauma that was involved in that will have been passed down genetically to me. So some part of it will live in my unconscious. And I can tell you exactly because I watched a series recently when lockdown first started. We watched a series about this group of people that hunted down Nazis. And the opening scene of the TV series was very brutal. And I had a real instinctual trauma response to watching it. I mean, it was a very good show. But just that particular scene really triggered me in some way. And you think, well, I haven't personally experienced what happened in that, but there's some part in my unconscious that recognized it and had an emotional response. So what is that about? Yeah. So I totally think, yes, ancestral stuff lives in the unconscious. So it can be stuff from your past. It can also be the cultural unconscious. So if you think about the culture that you grew up in, the religion that your parents subscribed to, the school that you went to, the pop culture at the time, what were celebrities doing, what were the books that you were reading, the TV shows you were watching, the school that you went to, how were they teaching things, the teachers around you, basically anything that has an influence on the collective lives in your unconscious as well. So you've got your own memories and triggers and traumas, and then you've got the collectives. Yeah, I find it really interesting. So the reason I find this so helpful, so like I was saying, is that if you can build up your ability to be aware, consciously aware, you can, so the conscious mind, they say, makes up 10% of your brain power. And then 50 to 60% is the subconscious mind, and then 40 or 50%, depending on the other one, something like that, 30 to 40% makes up the unconscious mind. So that's quite a big proportion of your life that's being lived on autopilot, okay, without your awareness. You're not making the choices. So if you can start to expand your conscious mind, then you have the ability to make a choice. Then you can decide, okay, do I want to react to the situation, from those old stored memories? Or do I want to right now, in this present moment, use all my adult awareness and wisdom and make my own decision? And do those external influences cause conditioning? Absolutely. Absolutely. Think about some of those kind of cultural stories, real men don't cry. I mean, what bullshit is that? Men are allowed to cry and feel emotion, but there's the story, this conditioning that real men don't cry. And so any man who feels emotion typically feels shame about that and either suppresses it or, feels like there's something wrong with them. The same as women. Think about, all the stories around how a woman should be. It's that cultural conditioning. And I mean, if you really want to go down the rabbit hole, they say there's a very small group, of leaders in the world that are actually influencing that mass story. And I guess at the moment, that's what's being broken down with the Black Lives Matter campaign and with, agreed, serious BS, with the Black Lives Matter campaign and with the whole child sex trafficking thing that's being exposed at the moment. Like all these old systems, these ways of being are being broken down currently because at the moment we're experiencing a massive shift in the level of consciousness of people. So, you know, we're all like this little bit of consciousness, and now all this stuff's happening and it's causing our consciousness to expand. And suddenly that stuff that was living in the subconscious, we've got more access to. And the stuff that's in the unconscious is being triggered emotionally. And that's why there's such strong emotions right now. Anger and rage and sadness and grief and frustration. It's all playing out right now because our consciousness is expanding. So it's about becoming aware of your unconscious. The first step, I believe, and what I've experienced as being helpful, is to become aware of your subconscious. So you've got a bit of better access to that. So what would that look like? It would be about observing yourself throughout your day and noticing how you're doing things. So like, let's take your morning routine as an example. Do you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is reach for your phone and check social media or check your emails? Is that the first thing you do? That is a habit, and your subconscious is driving that. So if the first thing you can do is become aware of the things that you're doing out of habit and bring it into your conscious awareness and say, is this what I want to be doing? Is this how I want to be using my time? Is this how I want to start my day? If it's not, then the practice becomes being aware first thing in the morning. What am I doing? Am I picking up my phone? Or now that I'm consciously aware of that subconscious habit, I can make another choice. I can leave my phone there until after I've had my breakfast, and then I'll check on social media, as an example. Does that make sense? Let's think of another one. Day to day, how might this look? Let's say with eating is a big one, okay? And it's a path that I'm on at the moment, so I guess that's forefront of my conscious awareness, is around mindful consumption of food. So normally I would eat on autopilot. I'd say for lunch, I'd make a toasted sandwich, you know, or something like that. And I wasn't doing it because I particularly felt like it. I was doing it because it was habit. I was just used to, that's what I was eating. So it was like, it was, just automatically happening, but I wasn't consciously choosing it. Whereas now, oh good, I'm glad it makes sense. Whereas now I'm saying, okay, I'm becoming consciously aware of what nutrients have I eaten today and what do I still need? Have I had enough veggies, you know, and fruit? Have I had enough protein? Because I recently, in like the last 10 months, gave up eating meat. So now I've got to find alternative sources of protein. My subconscious is used to me eating a certain way. So now it's got to come into my conscious awareness. What am I eating? And becoming very aware so that then becomes a nice habit. Yeah. So the ways to do that is an ongoing practice. So things like meditation are really powerful because if you're like a basic meditation is about focusing on your breath. So if you're putting your conscious attention on your breath, a thought will come and that thought will try and distract you, and it's coming from your unconscious and your subconscious. You'll put your attention on the thought because that's what we do. But now you've shifted it away from the present moment because that thought is probably about the past or it's a stress about the future. So you're no longer in the present moment. So you're no longer consciously aware. You're being distracted by past or future. Yeah. So when you meditate, focusing on your breath and being present is the aim of the game. And the more that you go, oh, there's a thought distraction. No, I'm going to come back to my breath. Okay, cool. Oh, there's a thought distraction. No, I'm going to come back to my breath. The more you like repeat that practice, the stronger your muscle of awareness gets. And it becomes easier to do that day to day. So that's like having an ongoing practice. But then also what is helpful is throughout your day, noticing yourself doing that and questioning it and going, why am I doing that? Am I doing that because it's habit? Or am I doing that because I actually want to? And adjusting your behavior accordingly. What about self-worth, negative thoughts? I now am aware when they happen and I change it to a positive thought. In other words, transmuting it. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so self-worth and negative thoughts tend to come from our belief systems. And beliefs are stories that we created in childhood. So that, I would say, is living in the unconscious. So you asked where to start. So I think it's about becoming consciously aware. What are you doing day to day? And it's about changing the narratives that live in the subconscious. Then I think you need to do some work in the unconscious, because that's where those self-worth and the negative thoughts lie. So that can look like, well, Freud believed that psychoanalysis was the way to do that, that you needed the help of a professional in order to access the unconscious and change the stories that lie within it. These days, there are so many more options than traditional talk therapy. Anything that's kind of body related. So I think that the unconscious mind is not just, I think it's connected with the body. So I think your body stores that information, and your brain is kind of taking the information from your energy system and from your body and turning that into the narratives in your head. I don't know if that makes any kind of sense. So doing embodiment work, so energy stuff, yoga, trauma release exercises, the tremoring, family constellation work, anything phenomenological, which I love saying, which basically means that you are taking an emotional trigger and you're doing something in your body to change the meaning of it. So like tapping, for example, is a really great way to do that. Will help you access the unconscious. Hypnosis, all of that. Eating can definitely relate. I'm constantly going on about eating to my husband that we should be eating more wholesome foods. Yeah, absolutely. You know, you get to a point, like for me, I got to a point where I thought, I have all these beliefs around food and I'm not living them. And you guys know my whole thing is live life authentically. And I'm like, I'm not authentically eating the way I believe I should be eating. So what is that about? So again, my subconscious was running the show, and deeper down than that, my unconscious was, there were things there about worthiness and do I deserve to look after myself? I mean, crazy stuff when you say it, you know, consciously, but that stuff exists deep down somewhere. So day to day, question what you are doing, observe. First things first, as I always say, is awareness. So first things first, create awareness. What are you doing? Observe yourself. Observe your behavior. Observe the thoughts. Observe the emotions that come up for you. Observe when you're triggered by somebody. So I really feel like relationships are such a great place to learn about yourself. So observe yourself, you know, with your partner or with your children or with a friend, and observe, how do I react to certain things? What am I doing there? What's coming up for me? And simply observe. Create that awareness. Choose to focus your conscious, like expand your consciousness by focusing on what is happening there. And then you can begin to make different choices. And that's going to affect those beliefs that are deep, deep, deep down. My whole brand is around authentic living and sustainable, and I'm not doing it properly. I'm doing it half-heartedly. Yeah. And it becomes a block, especially like if you're in business for yourself. Like for me, I mean, my whole business is coaching people to be authentic. So if I am not living authentic, I am going to block the hell out of myself from receiving any clients, because deep down there's this belief going on that, oh, but you're not doing it, so why would anyone come to you for that? Yeah. It's like, for example, no one's going to see a dietitian who's like obesely overweight, you know, because you're going to think, well, you're trying to help me lose weight, but you're super overweight, you know, or like seeing a hairdresser that's got hair that's just like, I don't know, not looked after, you know, or a beautician who yeah, I don't know. And right or wrong, I'm not saying that should be or shouldn't be, but right or wrong, that is what comes up for people, you know, like when it comes to knowing and liking and trusting you, which is why they're going to buy from your brand or buy your services or buy your product, it's the know, like, trust factor. So in order to be authentic with that, you need to be living your values. And when you're not doing that, it's like a way of self-sabotage. It's a way of blocking yourself. And that's what I've discovered with the eating. It was just self-sabotage. It was deep down in my unconscious was this little belief that said, you're not worthy of this. And so I did everything in my power to block it from happening because I didn't think I deserved it, which is so untrue. So now that that is in my conscious awareness, I've accessed that thing that was in my unconscious. Now I can choose daily to show up differently and to challenge that belief and say, that is not true. That's just a story I was telling myself, and stories can be changed. So some of the ways that I help people with this. So of course, in this group, I think it's really about growing our conscious awareness. And that's why I speak about awareness all the flipping time, okay? Because that is the answer. So that's why we do a meditation every Monday. It's to have that little pocket of time where you can sit and just focus your mind on one thing. And then you can come back to that throughout the week. But it's quite a nice way to start the week. And then each of those posts that I do every day are offering you an opportunity to sit and to reflect. So to bring whatever's in the subconscious and the unconscious up into your conscious awareness. That's what those posts are for. They're offering you this opportunity to do some of that work. Yeah. When I coach with people, so like I have a group program that's coming up at the end of August. I'll be sharing all the details of that. But what it's going to do is take people through a system, or through a process, sorry. It's going to take people through a process of developing their conscious mind by figuring out what's happening at the subconscious, and then also really going deep to the unconscious to start working with that. So I'm going to be bringing in energy work. And with my one-on-one clients, what I do are these sessions called soul story sessions, or like energy balancing sessions. And so what that is about is intuitively accessing the unconscious mind. And normally what comes up is a story. That's why I call it soul story sessions. What comes up is a story around almost like a metaphor for what the person is experiencing right now. But because it's coming from the unconscious, presenting it as a story that's kind of removed from you makes it a lot less emotionally charged to be able to deal with it. Yeah, it's so hard to explain. I need to practice finding my words for it. I also battle so much with consistency. Yeah, consistency is like the answer to everything. Awareness and consistency. And consistency is the hardest thing to do. But we just have to. We have to find a way. And I think having an accountability buddy really helps. So I spoke about that when I spoke about procrastination last week. Having an accountability buddy really helps. And I mean, it can be me as your coach. It can also be a friend. It can also be a therapist. It can also be a mentor. Like, it can be you too. You can also be your own accountability buddy. Like, you can set reminders in your phone saying, have you drunk water today? Have you meditated today? Or like, set reminders for positive affirmations to come up, reminding you, like challenging those unconscious beliefs, challenging you and saying, you are so worth it. You know, you are beautiful. Like, you are perfect exactly as you are. Like, you can do that for yourself. So, but having that accountability, I think really, really helps. Something that's been helping me just in terms of like practical day to day is using my weekly planner. So at the beginning of each week, I write down like what I need to be doing each day. And then as I go through my week, I'm able to tick things off. And just that, like having a pen in my hand on actual paper, as opposed to like using a Trello board or something digital, I find that being able to actually tick things off really helps. And so now when I look at my week, I can go, okay, that took me longer than I thought. So next week, I'm going to put more time aside for that. And I'm able to start kind of working with my tasks and with my schedule to figure it all out. So anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here. Yes. But I guess that it ties in with the theme of conscious versus subconscious and unconscious, because the more aware you are of what you're doing, the more you're able to kind of course correct, you know? So like, for example, in my business, if I'm spending so much time doing busy work that's not really moving my business forward, that's just distracting me and perhaps self-sabotaging me, if I can become aware of that, I can choose to do it differently. It does help so much. Yay, I'm so pleased. Always have a pen and paper. Yeah, something about it just works for me. Everybody's different. I've tried to use Trello and I love the idea and the system, but it just doesn't work for me. Does anybody have any questions before I finish off? Let me know. Conscious, subconscious, unconscious. And I think it's important, by the way, to do all of that. So I think there's a lot of coaches out there that just deal with the conscious mind and maybe a little bit of the subconscious. And I think that's why people struggle to actually create change is like there's such a big thing about looking at mindset. Like mindset's going to be the answer. I just have to have positive thoughts and that's going to change everything. It will to a degree, but there is deeper stuff hidden in the unconscious that you're not aware of. And by not doing something to affect that, it's still going to be kind of creeping its way up and pulling the strings, you know, on how you show up. Like that's where sabotage comes from. It comes from that deep down place. So working on your mindset, absolutely good thing to do. But I don't think it's enough to create big change, especially if you have had lots of traumatic things happen. And remember, trauma is relative, like small t, big T. You know, for some people, losing a parent is a big traumatic thing. For other people, falling off their bike when they were 3 years old and nobody came rushing to help them is a trauma. You know, it's relative and it's different for everybody. Like anytime you needed something and you didn't get it as a small child, that was traumatic. But if you've experienced a lot of those things and some of the really like hectic stuff that's out there in the world, then it's really important that you find a way to do some of that deeper work, because it will keep tripping you up. And I don't think we have to consciously make sense of all of it. I don't think everything that's in the unconscious has to come up to the conscious. But I think being aware of doing something. So like with the energy work, for example, that I do. Catherine says, I need to find out more about your coaching. Yeah, cool. Well, let's chat. I put a link out last week for a virtual cup of coffee and a chat because my group program's coming up and I want to pick as many brains as I can so that I know like what people are struggling with exactly right now so that I make sure I put the relevant tools and content in there. Because it's like having this entire library full of stuff and going, right, what's going to be most helpful and picking out the bits. So the more conversations I can have with people and ask them the right questions, the more I can know, okay, these are the things I'm going to bring in and it's going to be amazing. And I'm so excited. So yeah, book a call. The link is in the group somewhere. I'll pop it on this video actually for ease. And then you can, book in a call and let's chat. So what was I saying? Oh, about the energy work. So often with the energy work, I can feel the energy shifting. And it's so funny because the person who's having it done to them, often their stomach starts gurgling and they can get a little bit embarrassed about that. And I'm like, no, you want your stomach to start gurgling. It's energy shifting. It's a sign that this is working. So kind of the lesson in that is we don't always know what is happening, but we can trust the process that something is happening. So like I can feel the energy in my hands. We can hear the stomach gurgling. You can get a sense in your body, like I feel light or I feel heavy or an emotion comes up, you know, but we don't always make perfect sense of it, but that's okay. It still helps. It still really, really helps. So yeah, like I had a session with someone recently and a big emotion came up and I said, where is that emotion in your body? And she said, in my foot. And I said, and what color is it? It's blue. Okay, cool. Let's focus on the blue feeling in your foot. I mean, you know, what was that exactly? Like, doesn't matter. All you need to know is there's trapped emotion in your body and it's coming to the surface. And it sucks. It's really uncomfortable. But if you can allow it out, like rather out than in, you know, it can process and it can be released. So not everything in the unconscious has to come up to the conscious mind and make sense, but it does need to be worked with. The stuff in the subconscious mind, however, that you're able to pull out, you know. So I also think like with enough reflection, some of the stuff that is in the unconscious can come up to the subconscious, almost like it comes up a level and then you know. So like, for example, I know that I used to be quite a perfectionist. That's now sitting in my subconscious. I'm aware of it. I know that it's there. And it can run the show when I'm not focusing on it. It's like in the periphery running the show. But as soon as I put my attention on it, I'm like, oh yeah, there I am doing that thing again. Now I have a choice. I can stop doing it or I can continue. But that's my choice. Cool. Yay, you're so welcome. Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's it for me today. It's been so lovely, yeah, speaking to you and having an engaged conversation. Catherine, thank you so much for prompting this. For anybody else out there, Stacey, Bronwyn, and Pam, I think I can see you guys. Thank you for joining. And if you're watching this on the replay, please let me know that you came back and you watched it and if it was helpful. And if you have any questions, you can pop them in the comments and I will come back and I will answer them in the comments. Okay. Cool. I will see you tomorrow morning for Meditation Monday. I'll create the event now, but I'll be on. So yeah, come have a moment of conscious awareness with me tomorrow morning. We will be focusing on our intention for August. So quite nice to do at the beginning of each month, focusing on intention. Oh, cool. Hebron. Thanks. You and Pam. Awesome. All right, guys. Sending you love. Thank you for joining me and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And I will see you tomorrow.